My name's Sean Alexander. I am the operations manager for the Marble and Granite division for Santarossa Mosaic and Tile.
I'm Steve Erisman, president of the Speedway War Memorial Foundation. And we're here today because Santarossa is kind enough to be helping us and build a memorial for Speedway. Sean's going to kind of run us through the process of what it takes to build that memorial, and you'll see some shots of that happening. So Sean, why don't you start at the beginning and tell us how you start?
I guess the beginning is getting the material out of the crating, which is fairly significant considering the weight of the material. It's about 50 pounds a square foot, roughly. So clearly it's not just going to be shipped in an envelope.
No bubble pack.
No bubble pack. So clearly handling the material to begin with is quite a process. So you'll see in the video moving that with the crane. Those are 10-ton cranes that we use, so we can certainly handle that material. But that's the first step of the process. So once we've got it out of the crating and we've moved it to the cutting area, cutting to size is the next step. So we use a couple of different processes for that. We use the traditional bridge saw with a diamond blade. So it is a older technology, I'll say. We use a diamond embedded blade to do straight cuts. Any radius cuts, then we use the water jet, which is clearly water under pressure. It's 65,000 psi. That creates a vacuum that draws in an abrasive. So that is garnet that we use, and the garnet is actually what does the cutting on that. So in this particular case, the centerpieces of the sides of the monument have that radius on the top.
And how long did that process take to cut that radius on the water jet?
Each radius was about 4 hours.
Okay.
So
it moves slow.
It moves slow, and once again, the thicker the material, the longer it takes. So you have to slow that process down to give it time to cut through. And this is pretty thick material, meant to stand the test of time. After that, then we move to the finish of the cut edges. On this particular stone, it is a textured finish. So it's once again using diamond. It's a nylon bristle embedded with diamond. So that is all done by hand. So it's just hand polishing machines with the bristle brushes, attached, and center water feed through the machine to cool the diamonds as we're doing that.
Pretty much use water on everything.
Water on everything. And that's mostly to save the tooling. It's really not critical on the process, but it does help smooth out that finish a little bit as well. But
assuming it keeps the dust down too.
It keeps the dust down. Saves the tooling, keeps the dust down. Those guys don't want to breathe the dust, so yeah, everything's done wet. After that, for the most part, it's not a hugely complex process, I guess, to cut and polish. From there, then it moves to the field where we start setting those pieces. So once the foundation's done and complete, then we're going to move in and set some block. The block is going to be the vertical surface that we are going to adhere these pieces to. Once again, with the sheer weight of these pieces, the transport of that is the hard part of the whole process. So we'll have a little deck crane out there. I say little, enough to move 9,000 pounds worth of stone around fairly easily instead of trying to do this by hand. Once the block is set, the pieces are set one at a time. They will be strapped back, and several different setting processes will be used, but mostly it's a gap in there, an air gap, and then there's a mechanical fastener that's used to connect the stone to the block.
Kind of like a brick tie when they put up a brick wall.
It's pretty much a brick tie, exactly. So just one at a time, all the way around. It's the cap that's probably the more difficult aspect of setting these pieces.
It's because we put that radius in there.
It's that radius. It's that radius, and you'll see in the video the segments that we milled and refinished to match the radius of that. those are probably the hardest pieces to set on that. So blocking, again, will have to be built up just to get that just right to match that radius, and there'll be some cementitious setting material back behind that as well. It won't need the strapping like the vertical pieces will. But then once all those pieces are set, the joints are caulked just to keep water from getting back behind that, and you have the finished stone product.
Okay, I know Santa Rosa is not in the memorial business.
We are not.
Basically, you do a lot of other things. Tell us a little bit about what else you do here.
Well, if you just go back through the history of Santa Rosa Mosaic and Tile, clearly the name states we did tile in the beginning, but we also did terrazzo, and so that was a big aspect of what we did. So tile, terrazzo, later on we started doing stonework, I think in the 80s, I believe. Exact year, I wasn't around then, so I can't tell you the exact year offhand, but started doing slab work, which is what we're doing here. The marble and granite clearly has gotten really popular over the years, and we've continued that. So now we're doing concrete as well, so countertops in concrete or finished wall panels. We cast wall panels here. Precast terrazzo, which is more like the steps, so stairway systems, the landings, base. So a lot of what you see in the schools. So if it goes on the floor, for the most part, we do it. So.
Having walked through your shop, some people would call it a production shop, but I really don't. Looks like pretty much everything is hand done and custom.
We haven't necessarily followed the trend of automating, and that's because we do a lot of the more difficult fabrication that a lot of people don't do. So we are not automated as far as finish work. You'll see a lot of fabrication shops will have CNC machines. When you walk through our shop, you're going to see a lot of handwork, and we've held true to the traditional craftsmanship that we take a lot of pride in. So we do a lot of church work, a lot of large copings, complex mitering, and some other things that are not high production items, and that's kind of what we do. It's been around 100 years now that we've been doing this work, and you'll find a lot of the guys when you walk around this shop and you talk to them, you'll realize that they've been here a long time. It's a good company to work for, and we've got a lot of guys that take pride in their work, and we hope that shows up in your memorial.
Oh, I'm sure it will. I'm seeing the process and talking to the guys out in the shop.